Today, we're going to go back in time. Folks, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and my next project, and it's kind of a special one. First up, credit where credit is due. I'd like to thank Adam Hartzell for hooking me up with this kit. Adam, I hope you're watching this. Thanks a lot. You're going to give this old bloke some joy on his bench. Okay, I'll try and keep this preamble as brief as possible, but it does deserve a little bit of talk. So if you've watched my channel for any length of time, especially my older stuff, you will know that I built model kits back in the mid-70s as a junior high kid, and a friend of mine introduced me to the Monogram Armor series, and that's really what got me hooked on models in general, military models in particular. So fast forward to about 12 years ago when I was getting back into the hobby. The first kit I built was a kit that I had started back in the 80s, and I finished that up. But the first kit I built entirely out of the box was one my son had bought for me, and it was the Monogram Sherman Screamin' Mimi, the Sherman tank with the Calliope rocket launcher on it. And oddly enough, that was the first armor kit I built as a kid. And I have to say that I had a blast. Yes, it's a very old kit. The engineering on it was probably okay for the time, but compared to newer stuff, not even close. But man, I enjoyed that. So after that, I built other kits. And I think the next one that I built was the Panzer IV by Monogram in a newer boxing by Revell, but basically the same kit. Then I built the Monogram Weasel, did some super detailing on that one just to show what can be done with an older kit. I built the M3 Lee, and those are pretty much the ones that I've built by Monogram that were armor kits. I've built a lot of aircraft kits as well, but those are the armor kits, and a lot of it was just out of pure nostalgia, and I enjoyed building them as a kid. Some of them I couldn't get as a kid, so I got them now, the Weasel for instance, and I just really enjoyed building them. So every once in a while I get the urge to build one of those kits, and I was checking on a page somewhere, and someone had the kit I'm going to show you, two of them, and I got one, and I'm really stoked and looking forward to building it. So let's pop it on the desk here and see what it is. Dun dun dun! The Monogram M8 Armored Car, 1/35th scale unassembled model kit. So as you can see, this one is still in the shrink wrap. Now, people have said in the past, whenever people brag, it's still in the shrink wrap. You can take this down to places like Office Depot, Office Max, and get stuff shrink wrapped, okay? But there's telltale signs that it hasn't been done in a place like that, and I'm going to show you what it is in a minute. However, let me tell you a little bit about this kit first, according to ScaleMates, and then we'll move on to the box. So this is the Monogram M8 Armored Car, kit number 6402. Now, sometimes it looks like it might be listed as 1/32 scale, and sometimes 1/35 scale. So there are two versions of this boxing. There's one it's a white background that has like a red and blue stripe, and it just says M8 Greyhound across the top in total 70s font, and it does say 1/32 scale, whereas the this boxing, it shows 1/35 scale. Okay, according to ScaleMates, this is the Monogram M8 Armored Car, kit number 6402. It was originally released as a new toolkit in 1976. However, It was in a different box. It was in what some people call the Monogram white box. And it's basically a white background with the model superimposed. It's got like a red and blue stripe going across. A very 70s font that says M8 Greyhound. That was the initial version. Then sometime after 76, we have a new parts release, but it was the M20 armored car. Basically the difference is the M20 does not have the turret, has an open top with a machine gun ring, and is more kind of a command car, I think. Reconnaissance vehicle, something like that. Now, also in that white box series, those two kits, it's labeled as 1/35th scale. In 1982, which is this release, which is a new box, it is shown as 1/35th scale. The one after that, we have another new box. Can't really tell any difference from the illustrations on ScaleMates, but it was the same, looks basically the same, 1/35th scale, blue background, all that kind of stuff. So that's basically the history of this kit. So we're going to dive into this box, and this will be the first time this box has been opened since 1982. Now, I know some people out there of the collector type are going to go, why would you open that kit? Well, it's a kit. It's meant to be built, and that's what I'm going to do with it. Let's talk about this shrink wrap first. So, as you can see, we got the shrink wrap going on, and some telltale signs that this was not done in a store. I worked at an office supply store. I was manager there, and we had heat shrink machines. And the ones in those type of places are a little bit different. They often leave like char marks where the seal is, and they're generally only sealed from one end. Right here you've got this overlap thing going on. And there's also these little witness marks here where I don't know if it feeds the kit or the shrink wrap around the kit on an assembly line or what. But the biggest thing is this right here. Original sticker, win a dream vacation or one of 1,000 other prizes. See game ticket inside. Game expires July 1st, 1983, so I missed out. Void in certain states, blah, blah, blah. And that's original to the box. So that is a telltale sign there. This is unopened glory. But I'm getting ready to take care of that. So here we go. I'm going to open it up, and then we'll look at the box, and then crack it open and look at what kind of awesomeness is inside. So the nice thing is we know that what's inside of this box is exactly what it would have been in 1982. A good year for sure. That's the year I graduated from high school, as a matter of fact. So it's been a few years. All right, so we got that off there. I think this is one of those cases where I'm going to save that little sticker and maybe even save the box and put it on the shelf, because it's so old, and this kind of stuff just really takes me back, and I'm just really stoked to have something like this. So we'll put this over here. All right, so let's look at the box. So we got a nice photograph of the finished kit here with some painted figures. M8 armored car, 1/35th scale and assembled model kit. Modèle réduit. I'm sure I butchered that, but I don't do French. English instructions included, and apparently we have other instructions included as well. So it'll be interesting to see those instructions, because the earlier Monogram kits, everything was written out and it was all in English, and actually had step-by-step within the steps, do this, do this, do this, and described it with actual print, not just illustrations. Molded in color. Now that's important, because as a kid, I told myself, hey, it's already molded in the color it's supposed to be in. I don't need to paint it. I'd slap the thing together, paint the tires, paint the tarps, off to the races. Generally had wars on the bed, on the stinking quilt, just having a good old time with the other kits that I had. But anyway, molded in color. I mentioned that a few times on some of my videos back in the day, and it just still cracks me up that I did that. Then on the side we have more illustrations, front, rear illustration, side illustration with the figures, kind of a close-up of the gun mantlet EPC code. Then on the end, another slightly different photo of the vehicle. Then on the side we have powered by 6-cylinder Hercules engine, blah blah blah. It tells you all about the kit. Then it says includes 2 crewmen and authentic decals, may be painted to match photos on box. Cement and paint not included. Then we have 1982 Monogram models, Morton Grove, Illinois. So, man, that's just the good old days. So let's open it up. All right, okay, here we go. Look at that, Monogram International Flag Game. I've never seen that. Play Monogram's International Flag Game. You can win a dream vacation and see your favorite Monogram model in real action. Daytona 500, Kennedy Space Center, Paris International Air Show, Grand National Super Speed Truck Pull. Wow. Here's how. Compare the flags below to the international flags on the front panel of any Monogram package. If 5 or more flags below match the flags on any Monogram package, you can get the prize or rebate listed on the back. See the official rules on the back of this ticket for additional details. So we got all these different Soviet Union. Haha. So here's all the rules and all that kind of stuff. Family vacation, 1 available. Odds of winning, 1 in 840,000. Monogram models, number available, 1,000. So there you go. Nice bit of history there. And then we've got all this. So I'm going to take these parts out and we'll start with the paper stuff first. First up, we've got the instructions. So M8 armored car, 1/35 scale, Monogram, gives information here during the massive Allied offensive in Normandy, blah, blah, blah. And then we have the pertinent information. Read this before you begin in the different languages. Then we have the colors here, and these are just listed as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Flat black, blah, blah, blah. No numbers, anything like that. It's like you just have to make your best guess. Then we have a legend here for all of these specific symbols. Cement together, do not cement, repeat several times, blah, blah, blah. And then we get into construction. Step 1. And that is the floorboard and the controls for the driver. Now the insides of these things are super basic, but again, this is 1970 something and 76. So things have changed. Floor goes into the bottom tub. Then we flip over to step 3, undercarriage, and we just move along through the kit, doing all the different stuff. I'm sure this gun here and this machine gun are going to be very basic. Some of these parts are going to be really chunky, but I'm not replacing anything. This is going to be built completely out of the kit as people would have done it for the most part, especially kids. Back in the 70s when it came out. Then we have the back where the top is, the turret part is placed on the upper hull, and then shows some suggested locations for the stowage. Then last we have the figures, and as you can see all through the instructions, we've got these letters saying what color is supposed to be where. Now this right here, this whole part would have been different on the M20 version. It would have had a different plate with just some sides and a machine gun ring and more open top. So as I mentioned, the old Monogram instructions, especially the ones that would came in the first boxings in 76, not only does it have the illustrations, but it actually has printed instructions saying, glue this part on first, this part goes here, be careful to watch for this, etc. But by this time they started to simplify things, and it's never, you know, been an issue, and it makes it easier to distribute this type of a model throughout the world and not have to worry about printing up extra, you know, instructions with all that verbiage on it. So that's the instructions, all nice and fadey looking, copyright 1976 and 1982. Next up we have the decals. Now, these decals, they're really thin, so that's kind of cool. Very shiny, and I may attempt to paint the markings, except for these smaller ones. And for the smaller markings, I have some Archer dry transfers or other decals I could use. I'm just afraid these would come apart, and I'll just skip the Colbert thing there and just do the rest. But we'll see. I really doubt I'm going to use these, but I'll have to decide if I'm going to use decals from something else or if I am going to paint some of the markings on. Let's look at some sprues. Now, first off, before I start looking at these sprues, I do want to comment that not one of these sprues, there wasn't any loose parts in the bottom of the box, and that's very unusual for a kit of this age. Generally, the box has been opened at some point. People have messed around with it. Parts have come off. And this one, not one part has come off. So that's kind of cool. Almost makes me feel bad for building it. Not really. So let's look at this sprue first. Oh, there, a part just fell off because I knocked it off. And that's the dude's arm with the binoculars. We'll put that over to the side there. Let's zoom in so we can see what's going on here. So none of these have letters like A, B, C, D, you know, whatever like they do now. But there's not a whole lot of parts, so it's easy to find stuff. Now these, let's look at these figures first. They're pretty soft in detail, but really not too bad. The worst part is kind of like the helmet here. It's molded on, so it looks really chunky. Now these figures do look a little largish for 1/35 scale. When I actually get to putting these things together and painting them, I may get some 1/35 scale figures and we'll compare the size and see. But I'm going to paint them and I'm going to use them on this kit. But anyway, so we got the wheels here. Again, remembering this is 1976, the detail's pretty good. You got bolt detail and everything in there. The tread pattern's pretty good. It is 2-piece wheels. You have to glue them together, and that's not really that bad of a thing, because generally, you know, I'm gonna have to glue them together and then, you know, sand them smooth or whatever. But you generally have to do that with modern kits anyway, because there'll be, even if it's both sides together, there's going to be a mold seam line. So not too bad. There's the other arm, gear shift. That's a horn there. Now, the detail is actually pretty good on some of these parts. Now, I'm biased because I like these old kits, but like the little openings on that horn are actually pretty nicely molded. This hitch here, this toe pintle, whatever you want to call it, detail's good on that. You know, it just looks really good. Nice detail there. These small parts here, a lot of times when you get older kits, especially ones that have been reboxed like the Panzer IV that I mentioned earlier, the molds are old, they're starting to wear a little bit, and when you get stuff like this, instead of both pieces being both halves of the mold, where the cavity is, where the part comes out, it won't be lined up right. It'll be slightly off. So you have to do a lot of cleaning, and you kind of risk getting things misshapen. But these, since this is, you know, still fairly early in the run of these kits, they're really lined up good. And so far I'm not seeing any flash on anything. Even these figures, the mold seam lines are, yeah, pretty close to some Tamiya kits, for instance. So anyway, that's that sprue there. We have the upper hull and the floor. Again, I'm not seeing any flash. Ejector pin marks so far are on sides that aren't visible. You got these tools, they're all molded together. Steering wheel's about to fall off, but that's because it's got that long steering column. That's the... Okay, this is the pig head right here. And you can see it's got the hole where the handle goes. I just built a kit that came out 10-ish years ago, maybe less, that was just a solid blob with no hole for the handle to go in. Just saying. Suspension parts look good. Again, man, there's like not hardly, there's no flash on there, and the mold seam lines are not bad. So cleanup will actually be pretty easy on this. And this is one of those things that they did in the old days to simplify things. You know, now all this stuff, most of it would be separate parts, and that's fine. I mean, people like putting models together, but they were simplified a bit, so it's a little easier for the younger folks to kind of get into modeling without having to worry about, you know, crazy small parts. This floor here has some nice wood grain effect on the plastic, nice wrinkles in the seat cushions. So this should all paint up pretty well. Wood grain there. Yeah, it all looks pretty good. Nice big large one-piece thing, no separate hatches. Should be a quick build. Then we have the lower hull. It's got some basic detail in there. You can kind of see in through the top of the turret. So there are, you know, there is relief here that could be painted. And it's so simple, it'd be easy to paint that. I like to paint stuff with the airbrush, and that'd be easy. Paint solid color, tape those things off, and paint those black or something. And then we have, these are the fenders here, nice one-piece fenders. I built the Tamiya kit several years ago of this same vehicle, and it went together like a champ, and I actually detailed that one up a bit. But there was more parts. This is very simplified. Like all this is just all molded. I mean, normally, unless you have the vehicle flipped over, you know, you're not going to see much of that. If it was sitting on a counter at eye level, you'd still be able to see this, you know, with that view. So it would show at least something underneath. Then we got copyright. Monogram models, all rights reserved, made in USA. And at least that is somewhere, you know, unobtrusive. Then we have all the stowage here. Got some shock absorbers. And here's the handle to that pick. But these things here, these are ubiquitous. Would that be the right word? These particular things show up in lots of Monogram kits, but they're all slightly different in each kit. It's the same idea, but shaped a little bit different. I even have some left over from those long ago years in junior high. But anyway, the detail on them is good. Not much as far as mold seam lines, so it's just a matter of cleaning that up a little bit. Should take wash and some paint work to make them look three-dimensional. Should work out pretty good. Then we have the grill and the drive system here, and that is all one piece. Cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots, clean it up, glue that sucker in place. You don't see that nowadays. All this stuff would be separate parts, and again, that's perfectly fine. I mean, people like to put a lot of parts together, and people complained over the years, especially shortly after these kits came out, that they were too simplistic. But it's kind of nice. I like this. I think it's going to work out good. But again, no flash. Mold seam lines, very minimal. So it should be easy to clean up. And the last sprue here is the turret. So we've got some fairly decent cast texture on here. Not seeing any mold seam lines on the outside part of it. This might be, I'm building it out of the box, so I'm not going to put any extra cast texture. I'm just going to clean it up like I would as a Yoan. The turret ring, and then this is that part that fits in the top that the turret goes onto, and would be a little bit different if it were the M20 version. So I'm thinking that this sprue would be something completely different. Everything else would be the same, but this part here would be different depending on if it were the M8 or the M20. The gun's not too bad. Again, you know, you can see it through the turret top, so it's okay. I mean, it's not real detailed by any means, but it does have some detail on it. The barrel, I'll drill into the barrels out, but I'm not doing any aftermarket stuff. Nice cast texture on the mantlet, and again, should be just jolly. So that is the last sprue. All right, folks, so that's the box and the contents. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a special exception because of this kit, and I'm actually going to do a build series on it. I'm gonna try and keep it short, not too many episodes, not too long of episodes, but I think this one deserves it. So I'm gonna end this video here, and then when I come back, we'll start with some assembly. So I'd really like to see some participation from people who watch this video, if anybody does. But if you built any of these kits, I'd like to hear about it. If you have fond memories or not so fond memories of these kits, I'd really like to hear about it. These were the kits that were available in my formative years of armor model building, and to sound kind of hokey, they're really special to me. I really enjoyed them as a kid, and I was almost afraid when I started building them as an adult in between all my other more serious projects that I would be disappointed, but I haven't been, because I can keep in my head what these kits are all about and when they come from, so I can enjoy them. So enough of that sobby stuff. So if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button if you want to follow along on this series, or if you want to see any of my other stuff that I've done in the past or that I will be doing in the future. If you like the video, please hit the like button so Comrade algorithm can get the word out there that I'm doing a video, because I haven't seen any or hardly any videos about this particular kit. So it's going to be kind of fun, be kind of something different. All right, so that's enough of that. As always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. Really looking forward to tucking into this one, so keep an eye peeled for video number 2, where we'll get started building this thing. So until next time, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.